Good morning, guys. So today we're going to make an extreme 3D, some call it a four-dimensional flower. I'm going to use the back of my form paper because it slides easily. It's awesome. I'm going to use a light blue and a lavender colored acrylic. I'm going to be doing a double dip method where I dip into the blue and then into the purple. The reason I dipped into the blue first was because it is actually a little bit lighter than the lavender. And whenever you're doing a double dip, you want to make sure you do the lightest color first and then the darkest color. So here is, I guess you would call it the core of the flower, the center of the flower. It's basically I don't even know how you would describe it, a really long oval. For the flowers though, you're going to want those to be, you're going to start in a ball. The ball is going to self-level, it's going to flatten. You kind of want to just make sure that the colors stay where they are. The biggest factor when it comes to acrylic flowers in this type of dimension is consistency. You'll notice that I'm putting down 4 beads before I even start on the center of the flower, the oval weird shape. You can see that it's starting to turn matte. When it starts to turn matte is when you can play with it like it's Play-Doh, like a nice piece of clay. You can move it, shape it. You're gonna see that I actually end up picking up the center of my flower and rolling it. We'll get there. But when you understand your product and your ratios, you can do so many cool things with acrylic. I know I'm a gel girl, but my heart's still in acrylic. And I love the smell. I don't care. It is what it is. I won't wear it as a perfume or anything, but I do love the smell of it. All right. I'm going to be using the body of my brush, but starting with the point and in the center of the petal. I'm going to push in the middle, and then I'm going to slowly kind of roll and tap my brush at the same time to spread out the product. I like my petals to have, it's another weird shape, but it helps with the application. I don't know, it looks like a D, I guess. We'll go with a D. So see how I started pressing in the middle? Then I go and roll and press my brush to the right, roll and press my brush to the left, and then clean up the bottom in the center, and then press and roll, press and roll, press and roll. This one started to set a little bit quicker. So I just kind of like, all right, let's smash it down a little bit. So yeah, just kind of press it down. The thinner you get your petals, the more realistic and beautiful the flower actually becomes. You can add way more depth and dimension in your flowers. So here, my centerpiece, my weird oval shape, it's a beautiful consistency, and I'm just literally rolling it onto itself. Acrylic will usually stick to itself pretty awesomely. So just kind of tapping it. I'm going to use the center of my brush and pick it up to set it onto the other petal in the center of it. You saw that I got a little juicy. I wet it with the monomer so that way it would have even more stickability, a little more adhesion to each other. And I've been doing roses like this, oh my gosh, for 10 years now. One competition I made 250 roses. I'm not doing that again. It's cool, but no. It's my way. There's tons of different ways. Whatever works for you guys is always what works best. Find your niche, whatever works, go for it. So you see that I pick it up and I place it in the center, get it a little wet and juicy, kind of apply my glue, I guess, and then fold the petals onto each other. Once they get a little, I guess you would say, matte, a little bit more matte, a little more velvety, you can pick it up and really, I do love acrylic. I will be doing this video with a 3D gel, realistic 3D gel from Johans, just because it is a really amazing product and I can't wait to show you guys. I just ran out of some colors. So my order should be coming tomorrow. Woohoo! All right, pick it up and roll it like it's clay. It is acrylic. The catalyst is activated, so it is starting to set. But the thinner you make your petals, it actually, acrylic in general, the thinner you make the product, it takes longer to cure. The thicker, the faster the cure. I took my X-Acto knife and I cut the bottom off. Bye! We don't need that little guy. I'm going to take my dual forms. I love these for all of my 3D acrylic pieces because I can make them in advance. And they have a natural curve, same to our natural nails. I will be using clear acrylic to adhere the actual center of the flower to the dual form. These things have all sorts of names. I mean, back in the day we called it Pop It. I apologize, there's apparently a trash can guy in the background. I hope you cannot hear that. So pick it up with my tweezers and stick it right on there. I use clear acrylic because it's a builder acrylic, because it is a stronger acrylic than our colored acrylics. Yep, there you go. And now we're going to start with the external petals. There's still technically the internal petals, but because I do a lot of petals on my roses, eventually we're going to speed this video up because yes, technically it does take anywhere between 10, 15, 20 minutes per rose. Back in the day, I think it took me an hour. It was ridiculous. But it's a labor of love. If you love creating pretty flowers, if you haven't figured out by now, I love making flowers on nails. It's just another arsenal, another way you can make your nails pretty and charge more for it. So see how this one is starting to turn matte? I'm going to clean up my brush and I'm going to press in the middle of the petal and roll and press to the out, roll and press more outwards. These shapes are going to become a little less round on the D. That sounds really awkward. I'm going to start to actually pull out the center and make it more like a rose petal. You can really make these thin and delicate. You can add the little veins that are in there on your roses, natural roses, with your brush. These flowers are whatever you want them to be. You want them to be neon, glow in the dark, go for it. So here you're going to definitely see how I really start shaping, I guess, the larger petals more into, Lordy, I don't even know what this shape is. Apparently, I did not drink enough coffee this morning when I decided to do this voiceover. Not bad. All right, press the center and press and roll to one side, press and roll the other. You guys will hear me say this over and over again. If you ever take a class from me, I repeat myself very often, but if you actually answer one of my questions, you get a freebie. So I guess it just looks more like a petal shape. It's a D with a little bit of a point in the center of the D. I'm going to add a little bit of monomer. That's going to be my glue, basically. Pick up my petal. You guys have noticed that the camera kind of jolts around a lot. I had a hard time keeping this in frame. I didn't cut anything out. This is actually all in real time still at this point. It's just a little jolty because, I don't know, maybe I was fighting with the first petal. So the acrylic will stick to itself. You use the body of the brush to press it onto the flower. And then you can use the tip of your brush to really adhere it. I'm flipping the petal up a little bit just so I can get it attached to the flower, to the rose. And then I'm going to take that outer petal, and with the tip of my brush, pull and bend. And you'll see me touch this rose petal quite a few times because, like I mentioned, the thinner your acrylic is, the longer it's going to take to set. And unfortunately, I learned that in the competition arena the hard way. But it happens. So wet it, pick it up, apply it by the center of the flower, center of the petal, push it up, and then push it down. The more you press with the tip of the petal, with the tip of the brush onto the tip of the petal, you're going to have that realistic curviness to it. I am going to be definitely doing a bit more advanced flowers coming up, especially when my order of 3D gel comes in. Yeah, I love 3D art. I've kind of built my career on fantasy nails and 3D extreme nails, so I love it. It's so much fun. I did speed this part up purely because this video would take an extremely long amount of time if I actually played it in real time, and by now you guys would have clicked off because you're bored. It happens. It's okay. But this is realistically how I do my petals. I like to do 3. I can control 3 more. I've tried 5 and it doesn't end up working out that well. See how these have more of a point? The more outer petals that I do, the more of a point I like to have them, because then you can get that really pretty bend and curve. And if you guys want to, you can always add a little dot of gel on it, clear acrylic ball. It'll look like a little dew. You can also highlight it with some metallic pigments. Just wet your brush and touch the tips of the roses, because sometimes those roses, beautiful natural roses, have a really nice sheer, subtle glittery effect. You can do whatever you want. Like I said, glow in the dark, neon, black, go crazy. They're your roses. Make them however you want them to be. See how I just personally, this is how I make my roses. I love the more realistic feel of my roses because of how thin they are. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe. Have an amazing day.